From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Teshuva, the Time-Warp. Question is, as we approach this season of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we blow the shofar, we go to Kol Nidre, we have the 10 days of repentance, the Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. The question is, are we focused primarily on past deeds, confession of past deeds, or are we focused more on New Year's resolutions, things looking forward prospectively toward the future? What is the major focus of this season? So let's look at Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre, and the Teshuva process itself, and let's see if we can determine what the focus is and how it works. If we look at Rosh Hashanah, we look at the actual Amidah, the actual Musaf service, we say, Zayom Tchilat Masecha, Zikaron Liyom Rishon. It's the Tchilah, it's the beginning. It's reminiscent of the beginning of creation. Rabbi Eliezer in the Talmud says that B'Tishrei Nivra Ha'olam, it was at this time of year that the world was created. So in that sense, it's a beginning. Hayom Harat Olam, today is the day of the conception of the entire world, the birthday, as it were, of the world. We are judged on this day, yes, for past deeds, but it's about the judgment for the year yet to come. So it's really about the future. Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion that B'Tishrei Atidin Ligael, that on Tishrei we will be redeemed. The redemption of the future is in this month. It's the month of the future. So in that sense, Rosh Hashanah is looking toward the future. If we look at the Rambam in the laws of Tshuva, it says it's hard to know exactly what the meaning of shofar is. It doesn't say in the Torah, but remez yesh bo, there is a hint, as if to say, Uru yishanim mishinatchem, wake up, O slumbering ones. And how do you wake up? He says, because of this idea that we need to have more merit, that the scales need to be tipped in our favor. Nagu kol beit Yisrael, all of the Jews have a custom, laharbot b'tzedakah, to give more tzedakah, masim tovim, to do more good deeds, lasok b'mitzvot, to engage more in mitzvot during this time of year. So Rosh Hashanah is not about confessing past sins. Rosh Hashanah is about building ourselves up. Rosh Hashanah is about doing more mitzvot, so we'll have more merit for the day of judgment. If you look at Yom Kippur seems to be very much about the past. The Gemara says there's a mitzvah vidui on Yom Kippur. And what is it? What is that mitzvah? Rav says, Atay Yodea Razei Olam. We talk about how God knows all the secrets and everything we've done. Rav Hamnuna says that we're not worthy of existence, and may it be your will, Yiratzon Vanecha Shelo Ech Te'od, that I will not sin anymore. So here is a notion that you make a prayer that you not sin more, that you're actually, yes, you are looking toward the future, but you're not really confessing, you're not really declaring that you will do better in the future. You're just praying, hoping that you do better in the future. But the main vidui, says the Gemara, says the Rambam, Maimonides, the main confession is chatanu. Aval anachnu v'avotenu chatanu, that we have sinned. That's the main confession, says the Rambam, says the Gemara in Yuma. However, if we look at the concept of Teshuva, there in the laws of Teshuva, the same book, the Rambam writes that part of confession is Ana Hashem, oh please, oh God, I have sinned, I regret it, Nichamti uvoshi, I regret what I've done. And he says as follows, I will never go back to this matter. When it comes to the essence of Teshuva, repentance, you have to declare that you'll not go back to this sin. When it comes to Yom Kippur, the Rambam seems to say it's enough to focus on the past. Yom Kippur seems to be focused on the past, whereas Teshuva is bi-directional. The Teshuva refers to confession of the past and also an acceptance for the future. How do we resolve this contradiction between Yom Kippur and Teshuva? Perhaps it's implied that if you confess the past, there is a notion that perhaps in some way you're also presuming, one of my students suggested, perhaps when you confess the past, you're presuming that you intend to do better in the future. If I really feel that I erred and I missed the mark, chatati, in the past, then surely I would want to get the bullseye next time. I would want to get it right. If we look at Kol Nidre, not the essence of Yom Kippur, but it's a beautiful symbol of Yom Kippur. There's a debate as to what the symbol should be. The original text of Kol Nidre was that Yom Kippurim Sha'avar, that from last Yom Kippur until this Yom Kippur, I want to annul my vows from the past. It's an annulment of vows. Annulment, a symbol of the annulment, the erasure of the past. A beautiful symbol for Teshuva, repentance, which is about a time warp. It's about turning the past into something different. But the Rabbeinu Tam, for technical reasons, says no, you can't annul the vows at Yom Kippur. There aren't enough judges. You haven't fully expressed your remorse. You haven't specified the vow. Therefore, he suggests that you do that which the Talmud in the Darim says is permissible, to annul your vows for the future. That I hereby declare that my vows for this year should not be valid. And depending on whether you did remember or didn't remember that clause as you vowed during the year, perhaps it could annul some of your vows. So Kol Nidre itself, there's a debate as to whether it's prospective or retrospective. Is it about the future, annulling future vows, or past vows? Is the symbol of Kol Nidre that we want to change that which is going to be in the future, or is the symbol of Yom Kippur and that of Kol Nidre that we want to change that which was in the past? Seems to be a debate and a tension. So what do we have here? Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur perhaps reflect the two aspects of Teshuva. Teshuva is supposed to be about atonement for the past, and Teshuva is supposed to be about confession of the past, and Teshuva is supposed to be about accepting on ourselves new commitments for the future. Rosh Hashanah, oddly enough, ironically, Rosh Hashanah reflects my commitments for the future. It's about new beginnings. And Yom Kippur, which comes next, 10 days later, Yom Kippur is about my reflection about the past. One of my students suggested that the reason that things are in reverse is because first we have to build ourselves up before we can knock ourselves down. We're going to confess, we're going to feel like nothing. When we feel like nothing, we'll feel despondent. The evil inclination will have won the day. He'll say, "You're wicked, there's no hope for you." But first, we build ourselves up with more mitzvot, more tshuva, more tzedakah. And then we knock ourselves down and say, "But I have sinned in the past. But I have enough fortification to be able to face that day." Or we could suggest that it's, as Rav Shurki of Mechon Meir in Israel suggests, perhaps it's a matter of the time warp. That what is Teshuva? Teshuva is turning the clock back. Teshuva, in its ideal form, zdonot nasim lo kizchuyot, that the sins of the past become opportunities for rectification and actually become a merit that I have overcome that which I failed in the past. And therefore I've actually achieved something through my sin. Ironically, sadly, I've actually grown through the experience of tshuva. I've turned the clock back. That which was in the past, it's nimchal, it's nislach, it doesn't exist. And therefore, there's a time warp. And since there's a time warp, therefore, Rosh Hashanah looks toward the future, and then after we go toward the future, we go back to the past. There is a time warp. And Rav Shurki points out that the 10-day difference between the solar calendar and the lunar calendar are those 10 days. These 10 days don't exist in time because there's a time warp taking place. There are no 365 days in the Jewish calendar. We add an extra 10 days to the year with Yom Kippur, and with those extra 10 days, which are neither part of the solar nor not part of the lunar calendar, but they are part of the solar calendar. And this intergalactic time, we actually warp time and we go backwards. And we hopefully change our destiny for the future, and change the history of our past. We might suggest also that Zehayom, that the idea of Rosh Hashanah and these days is to focus on the essence of today. Focus not on yesterday, not on tomorrow, but today. Because after all, Rosh Hashanah is the Yom HaZikaron, it's a day of remembrance. And as a history professor at Yale University pointed out, memory is always about the present. The question is, what is my memory today? How shall I be remembered today? And this is a question of not of the future, not of the past. A question of the way I'm thinking about the future, the way I feel about the past determines who I am today. Thank you very much for joining us here at the Anshe Sfar Beth El congregation here in Memphis, Tennessee. And join us each week for our various discussions of the Parsha, the various upcoming holidays. We have archives at the ASBEE Memphis website within YouTube to discuss other matters and other holidays and Parshiot. Thanks to Jason Lefkowitz for making today's presentation possible. Thank you for joining us.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.